Hello and welcome to Raising Parents, a podcast brought to you by Genes Life. In this podcast, we try and dig into the complexities of an adult child and aging parent relationship. Today, I'm particularly happy to have with us Deepanita Sharma, a former Miss India, a supermodel, somebody who's incredibly beautiful, but also incredibly attached to her mother. Welcome, Deepanita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Meenakshi. I'm happy to be here.
So, you lost your father. When did you lose your father?
We lost Deuta in 2018, and he was ailing for a while. He had Parkinson's. He was a doctor, and yeah, it was hard for us to see him because it's a degenerative condition. But he made it very easy for us because he understood exactly what was going on with his body because he was a doctor. But it must have been so difficult for him. Um, we are two sisters, me and my younger sister, and mom sort of became his primary caretaker by default, towards the end, despite the help. There's always something about the fact that you have family around that's important, right? Yeah, so, but sometimes it is almost like we feel, wow, it is like Deuta, dad, who we call Deuta in Assam. Deuta willed it that he would go in 2018, and because after that there was COVID, and I think it would have been incredibly difficult to maneuver um, because he was in his last stages.
So, your father knew that he was going to pass. I mean, we all know we are going to die,
Yeah.
but your father knew he was unwell. And he tried to prepare you, ladies, for it. Were you prepared?
No, I think you're never prepared to lose a parent. You just or a loved one. I mean, he eased us out. That is true. That, we saw him with Parkinson's for 20 years when it first started to how it progressed to, and every step of the way he guided us, which we are very thankful for. But now at this age, I'm always thinking how hard it must have been for him. And he was very, very calm through it. If we have inherited even a percentage of the calmness he had, then I feel fortunate, because he really was. But despite all of that, I think you're never, ever really prepared to lose a parent. And that is a void which just does not fill.
Nothing can fill
No,
it.
nothing.
And the pain may be old, but it's still there.
It's there. You learn to live with it through conversations with your sibling, with your mom, with other relatives who were close to him, and he was really looked up to, through his work, through, the way he was. But yes, I don't know when people say you process it, yes, but you get over it? No, you don't.
So, your mother was your father's primary caregiver.
Yes.
And then, when dad passed away, there must have been a huge vacuum in her life.
Yes,
Did
absolutely.
she ever talk about it with you girls?
So with mom, I think she took on so much at a certain time. She's also an ex-teacher, and she was actively working. And then she gave it all up to be with dad because both her girls were out, right? We were not in Assam. I was working here near my sister. We left to study, actually. I did uni in Delhi. And then my sister came to Sophia's in Bombay to do her microbiome and then nutrition. And then we subsequently started working. So it's sort of organically, it just so happened that she became the primary caregiver, even if we could get help or that there was help, but my dad became increasingly dependent on her. I think we would always share stuff with each other, but I think we shared more with her than she shared with us. That's sort of because we were her, we are her kids, and she's always thinking that, maybe I shouldn't say too much or whatever. At this stage, I realize, and after, especially, right after the Utah, um, we would ask her questions to for her to tell us, because that just became her. I think, keeping
Keeping everything bottled up.
yes, keep
Was she trying to be strong for you?
yes, she was trying to be strong for everyone. I think, you know, and somehow it just so happens that it's sort of a conditioning. I feel that the woman has to look after everything. Especially of a certain generation. If she shares her vulnerabilities, maybe people will judge her, you know. Um, so I feel a lot of times we tend to forget that a primary caregiver actually needs care, right? I mean, and over time, I'm just thankful that, through interactions, reading books or whatever, that me and my sister, we've gathered this knowledge because this just seems to not exist. Like somehow, because she has been the dutiful wife and primary caregiver, it should come naturally to her. But that I feel is not fair because that's not her expertise, right? But she's done it, correct, the best way possible. And there would be so much that she would have felt through that time,
Which she couldn't express.
she couldn't express. And with, I feel a lot of her family members, it was almost like she's not supposed to.
Yeah.
She's not supposed to express this.
Yeah, she's meant to do what she's doing.
Yeah, because it is, I mean, she's the wife and that's her duty. It's fine to think that it's your duty and she wants to do it. But to think that somehow it's okay for her to double up as, a healthcare professional, which is not her expertise, I think that's a little bit unfair. And
But your mother never voiced any of this to either of you.
so we used to have conversations. She would tell me, she would tell us that today he has had a difficult day, today this has happened, today he's. And my dad, thankfully, was very, very calm as a human being, although he was battling a really difficult
But
condition.
did he ever lose his temper, get frustrated, get angry?
So, exactly why I was telling you that I've never met, I mean, really, he was my dad. So, I would, I think, naturally say it, but I have really not met anyone who would be so calm through a really difficult condition. Never. In my entire life, I think I saw him lose his temper twice, that too when we were kids, before he got this condition. So he was very objective, practical, precise about things. He never, despite all of it, he never forgot. He didn't forget his medicines. He would know exactly when to take them. In fact, remind my mom about her diabetes,
Medication.
Yeah, her
She
medication.
keeps forgetting it.
Yeah, she would forget. She might forget, he wouldn't.
But now you're your mother's primary caregiver.
Yes.
Do you also feel the need to have care to be acknowledged as the primary caregiver for her?
So yes, I acknowledge myself actually more than anything. As a caregiver, I think it's very important. I have a very encouraging, wonderful partner in my husband who also is in a similar situation with his mom. Okay, with his mother. Yeah, because we lost dad-in-law in 2023. So I think there is support there. My younger sister, if I'm having a difficult day, because it can be challenging a lot of times. My sister, Ruman, Arunima, and my husband, Dilshay, they're always there. for me to share and talk to them, and for them to, and the fact that we're at a certain stage where we get each other and we're all going through similar situations. Like my sister-in-law has her in-laws with her who have both gone through certain surgeries, certain health conditions, also dependent on them. So, and the fact that there is awareness, I feel, and the fact that I don't feel that I shouldn't talk about it at all. I think it's very important to have conversations around this, that it is as challenging for us as it might be for our parents.
So when you have these conversations, and first of all, what you're doing is absolutely right. You need to talk about it.
Yes.
You need to verbalize it.
Yes.
Okay. You need people to understand that it is difficult for you to do, but you choose to do it despite it being difficult,
Absolutely.
and therefore you can't be taken for granted,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So that's a very important thing. Or saying, I'm doing it because I want to.
It's a choice.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a choice.
Yes.
Not because I have to.
Yes. Because that's when I think when you say have to is when you're not being able to do it from a space of happiness and peace.
And the resentment.
Yes. So when you choose to and acknowledge that yes, it is hard or challenging, but it comes from a place of love and it comes from a place of choice.
Okay.
It becomes simpler. You can work things out, right? It's very important to have that conversation with the parent as well.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You have acknowledged this.
Yeah.
But does your mother acknowledge it?
So she does. I think over time now she does, because there are, for her, she realized, because I think a lot of her friends sometimes tell her that she's very
Lucky.
fortunate to have this, and that I'm around, and because her original place of, stay and everything was Assam. And of course, because of her health, because of advanced age, we find it easier if she's with us, right, here
Yeah.
here in Mumbai. And over time, she sees me at work. Earlier, it was she would visit me. Now she's with me, and she sees how maybe I figure things out, maneuver. And I'm not saying this out of the fact that, oh, I need credit. No, it is just,
It's a fact.
it's a fact. And, as we have to learn how to treat it organically, correct? And that when we were children, I remember mom was a teacher, right? And there were times when, I would be, I'd be like, Mom, you know, why aren't you around all the time? And she would sit and explain to me that this is important as well. And for my individuality, this is something I have. This is personal, right? And I'm always here for you, but my work is important too. And that was instilled, and it was a good thing she instilled in us, I thought, because it helped us become individuals, in a certain way.
And it gave you the space to grow.
Correct.
And not feel that by having desires of your own, you were doing something wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I think, but it has reversed in a manner where now I have to sit with her and I have to say, Mom,
I do have a life.
Yes, and I have to go to work. I have a husband. I have my friends. And the fact that, now, just as she explained to me when I was a baby, I think I do that now with her. I said, Mom, I'm always here for you. But imagine me being here 24/7 and not going to work. I think we have a better life because I work.
Right.
And she looks at me and she said, okay.
But
I think
Dipanita, you're quite a unique person. Your husband is in Delhi
Right.
looking after his mom. You are in Bombay looking after your mom.
Yes.
Your sister is also in Delhi,
In Delhi, in Gurgaon.
in Gurgaon,
Gurgaon.
looking after her in-law.
Yeah.
So between the three of you, you've got old parents who are your responsibility for sure, but would you see them as a liability also?
No, that is one thing I think all of us don't see them as, not a liability at all. Time to time may be challenging, but that is, I think, natural because, every generation is different. It is the generational gap. But the fact that I think all of this actually comes from a place of love and choice, that I think makes everything simpler.
But you said your mother was stoic when it came to, her life and the fact that she was a caregiver, but you're more open to showing your vulnerability.
I am.
Is that a generational thing?
It I'm not well, that I don't know if it is as much generational as much as me not repeating the same mistakes.
That's a very interesting point.
Yes, I think I've noticed her, and my heart used to go out to her. And I used to always think, and it has also naturally happened, I think, in a manner that I'm like, okay, you know what? It's so important to talk, important to have conversations. And I know that she had her share of pain, but she wouldn't want to share it. And that might have really affected her health somewhere, you know. And she was this outgoing, extremely resilient. She's resilient as hell. She's a Leo woman and she's full on and she's very popular back home. She's a writer. She's, published a book of poems and all of that, but I feel it told on her health in a manner.
Right.
And that I saw that happen in front of me. And I'm like, you know what? You can have your resilience, but you can still have conversations. And
Right.
I want to,
Correct.
especially with the people who are close to me. I don't mind talking to my husband or my sister saying, today is a difficult day.
That's right. I need help.
Yes, and I want to talk to you, and this is not going right. What do you think I should do? It's all right to
Correct.
have these conversations.
Letting out steam is good for you.
It's very good. You don't
Get
have
rid of the stress.
Absolutely. It does.
Yes.
It's good for your mental health. I
Right.
think you don't have to have it together all the time
Yeah.
because you don't.
That's such an important statement. You know what Dipanita says? You don't have to have it together all the time. And we are our worst enemies because we judge ourselves constantly, right? Wouldn't you agree with that?
So true. This judgment of yourself, I think, is probably the worst vice some of us have,
Right.
And we've all done it.
Most of us. I
Yeah.
think it's a very cultural thing.
Cultural. It's conditioning.
It's conditioning, yeah, that you can't complain about the stuff. You have to be stoic and you have to just do it
Yes.
and keep a smile on your face.
And it happened to my mom. So I see it. And she's so wonderful, so together always, taking care of everything.
She never let the veneer crack
Yes.
and the real pain and the hurt show
Ever.
through.
And I do admire that at some level, but I also realize that it can also damage you somewhere. So I'm like, I'm not that perfect. I'm okay to let out my vulnerability.
But actually, letting out your vulnerability is being perfect because
Yeah.
you know you are not complete in yourself.
Yeah, correct.
And therefore, you are saying, I need help.
Yes, absolutely. And I've also learned this through the years. I know that, how you reflect the people you've grown up with as well, right? So through my 20s, I've been like that. I've whether it was heartbreak, whether it was professional setbacks, keeping it together, keeping it is, there'll be a lot of my friends who say this that Dipanita doesn't share. It's happened over time after, I think, seeing my mom that, okay, certain things I'm not okay to deal with. Certain things I am, and I will share when I.
This is such an important thing that Dipanita has raised. So many of us become versions of our parents.
Yes.
Okay. And our personalities depend on the way we are brought up, the whole business of nurture versus nature. But at the end of the day, I think the important point you're making, which I truly love, you're saying identify the bad bits about your parents, get real about them, and understand that you don't want to walk those paths
Correct.
in your own life.
Absolutely. You said it perfectly. Is literally seeing them as they are. You grow up actually, what happens is you grow up worshipping your parents. You understand? And which is great. But at some point, it's important to see them the way they are,
Correct.
the humane side to them, the human beings that they are, and pick out, okay, these are things that I'm going to keep with me, and these are things that I will not
Acknowledge,
yet
not
acknowledge.
adopt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you understand what makes them tick, but you don't
Yes.
necessarily want to do the things that they have done.
Yes. I mean,
And you don't
that's
find yourself any the lesser.
no,
that.
absolutely not. In fact, they instilled individuality in me and my sister. So I think, like I know dad would be very proud, as he has always been, you know. With mom, I think she sometimes really misses how I was as a kid. And even in recent times, she told me this. She's saying, I remember, and she gets tears in her eyes, and I would too. And she'd say, you used to, when we would be in the club and I would be talking to the ladies, and if you didn't see me for even a second, you would start calling out to me, Ma, Ma, and all my friends would tell me that, oh, she's so attached to you. I think you have to start working on her. Otherwise, she'll not have an individuality. So what her friends were telling her at that time when I was a baby, because they're so attached to her, right? I'm also the older one and everything. And she would say it. I say, and I look at mom and I say, now you miss that, huh? And didn't you worked on me being an individual? Isn't that a great thing, And I said that you should be very happy that I have that detachment, yet the love is intact, you know?
Because you left home at 17,
Yes.
which meant that mother and father both
Yeah.
knew that you need to find your own way, right?
And they were very,
Or did you run away from home at 17? No.
no. They were very, very encouraging. I came to do my history honors in Delhi University, in the Indraprastha College for Women. And yeah, right after my 12th, actually.
And the fact that you were a model and a Miss India, did that make them proud? Did that make them concerned?
Okay, so there were couple of things in that. I started doing college fashion shows. Okay, that was the first thing you start. I mean, it was literally like, who are the tall girls? So then this Miss India thing happened, as in the offer came that, I started doing a little professional modeling before that. And then dad was like, yeah, please do what you would like to do. Her mom was a little, I mean, I think that came from normal mommy worries, I
Correct.
think.
She'll be exploited.
Yeah, and
Some male will try and
of course, all of this, and it's because the world is such, and you hear all of these stories, and you don't know, we didn't have anyone
like
who we were connected to in that sense. So dad was like, listen, it's and dad was very, again, very organic and very, I think he was just born spiritual. Some people just happen to be like that. And he was like, if things are to happen, I have seen in Assam Medical College, he was like, it has nothing to do with which world you're stepping into.
correct.
I trust my daughter. And yeah, I think she'll be, he always thought that an individual will be successful in the fields if they get to do what they want to do, a field of their choice.
Correct.
And how many people get to do that
True.
is what he used to think, because he also wanted to really do medicine. And he was saying a lot of his relatives didn't get that chance. And he felt fortunate that he was doing something that he wanted to do. So he wanted his daughters also to do that. And he was like, let her fill up the form, and at least, you're thinking way ahead, let's see where this goes. She wants to do this. So one thing led to another. I got selected. I was in the top 25 and top 5. I won Miss Photogenic and all of that. And then, things then the Delhi to Mumbai move happened, skincare brands signed me and all of that. And suddenly it was a full-fledged career,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I still remember my dad, the first thing someone asked, and we were from a small oil town in Assam, and like in a gathering when someone asks you, right, how do you feel? And I think he had come to watch me at a fashion show. It was one of the few before the conditions,
Deteriorate.
Yes. So this was the first thing he said. How did you feel, Doctor Saab? How did you feel seeing your daughter? And some of them would also ask him questions in a manner that, oh, where is this leading to? And there was no one from Assam at that time.
You were the first model to come out of
Yes.
Assam.
So my dad was like, oh, yeah, there was my daughter walking on the ramp, and I felt extremely proud. And that was him throughout. There was no, you know, extra happiness over, career or, yeah, my daughter's doing what she wants to do.
Normal. He treated everything as being normal.
Very, very normal. Very.
So that seems to be a quality that you've inherited from your dad,
Thank you.
because you're treating it as normal to leave your husband in Delhi, look after your mother-in-law, your sisters-in-laws, yeah, right? That's quite a lot of responsibility to be carrying. Have you at any time felt you're putting your life on the back seat for all of these seniors?
Actually, I think Dishir and I have a great understanding in this. I think, again, we have allowed it to happen as organically and naturally as possible. When we got married, we were in two different cities. When we met, we were in two different cities, and and we've maneuvered it, I think, touchwood, quite well. And also, we always say this, that at least, we want to see each other's faces at the end of these uh, long gaps that we have, and that has kept our, I think,
Relationship fresh.
yes, I really think it has.
Yeah.
It comes with our both our families are very different,
Hey.
but I think we find common ground, and that is where we thrive, I think.
And obviously, love for aging parents is definitely a huge common factor between you and your husband.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you ever think of the fact that your mother's getting old and a day will come and she won't be there?
Yes, I think in the last couple of years, every day.
Every day?
It's a little unnerving because I see her in front of me. She's frail. She had a little bit of a back scare last year, and she's got a crack on her back. So yes, on her lower back, and we've been advised against surgery because she's diabetic, and but she does her walks in the house with help, but she's not stepped out of the house
For how long?
for quite a few months now. Quite a few months, and she loves going out.
Yeah, she was saying she's a very outgoing,
Very
social
Very social.
person, and for her that must be very difficult.
It's hard. It's hard, and it's hard to see her like that as well. And yes, every other day you see her in front of your face, and she's the only parent who's alive. And yes, that realization that every day she's getting a little older. So yeah, it is a bit of a strange feeling. I don't know. it's it it's something difficult to accept, realize that every day it sinks in a little more.
Mm.
But yeah, I only hope that we have good another maybe 15, 20 years. I really hope.
Mm. She's already in her 80s, isn't she?
She is in her
Late 70s.
70s now. Yeah.
70s, yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it's like, it's comfort food, no? You want her around.
But this is a difficult question, but I'm going to ask you this question. Your father suffered from Parkinson's for 20 years,
Yes.
or maybe a little more.
Yes.
You saw the deterioration in his life.
Yeah.
If it was a question to do with your mother, would you rather she lived despite an illness, or would you rather she went?
If she's suffering and if it is really bad, then yeah, then I wouldn't want her to suffer. I definitely wouldn't want her to suffer. But she's extremely strong-willed. And her will to live is amazing. And I see it every day, which is also great, which is why I have a lot of hope.
Correct.
But I don't think anyone should suffer.
But your father suffered.
He did for 20 years. But when he also, I think, when he was in his last stage, and we took him to the hospital, and all he wanted to do was come back home, I think. He literally, I think, when he came back home, we got him home, he had, like, he couldn't eat anymore, but
He was intubated.
yeah, no,
Rice
He,
ice tube.
yes. And at that time, I remember him, his tea time was his favorite time. And I would ask him, you're okay? You want anything? And he would say, "Sa," which is tea. And I haven't had my tea. And which was very, very heartbreaking because obviously he couldn't taste anything. So it was, whatever was being fed.
Nutrition was being given through the tube.
Right.
Yeah. And he couldn't have tea.
No.
There's no way he could have
No
anything
way.
orally.
Yeah. And at tea time with his cakes and biscuits was his favorite. And he couldn't. And I remember moving aside and joking about it because that my time with him was also tea time because we both love it. And I used to say, this should not happen, and I think you would see that in him as well. And he literally, I think, willed it. He did not live for too many days after that. I think I had that conversation with him today, and maybe in the next 2 or 3 days.
He passed.
Yeah. So, yeah, there is the universal law out there, I think.
Right.
So,
And it's tough to see your parent suffer. You
that's
pray.
the hardest.
Yeah, you pray for their release rather
And
than
their peace.
suffering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And their peace. Absolutely. It's the hardest, I think, also because, you grow up just seeing their strength and that they're there for you and they can conquer anything. And then you slowly start seeing that, okay, they're human and they're vulnerable and they're, strong and weak moments.
So does your mother start feeling her independence is slipping away?
Yes, immensely.
Has she talked to you about it?
Yes, she does. She does. And I have encouraged these talks actually. I do. My sister speaks, although she's not here, my sister speaks to her every day. I think because she's at a distance, she speaks to her more,
Right.
and say,
Correct.
so, and we encourage these conversations. It is actually, and she really, I think, feels it because she's been fiercely independent all her life. And she has told me on occasions that I really feel like I'm not in control anymore. And that bothers me. It does bother her. But then she's also really, I think, this is again gross, I think, together. It's like she found meditation and I found meditation at the same time.
Oh, wonderful.
And that really is very, very helpful. The mindfulness has really helped all of us at home, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what happens when you have to travel? Who looks after her while you're away?
Yes. So we
You
have,
have a caregiver.
yes, we have a constant 24-hour. When I am not here, I have an additional caregiver um, for more help, you know.
So financially, you're looking after your mother.
Financially, yes. I think it is also naturally, I mean, sort of because she's with me and my sister chips in whenever she can. Dad had left something for her, of course, that is, comfortable. But yes, I think for women of certain generation, their work, she was
She was a teacher.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they're not really doing that for,
Money.
yes, and for financial freedom,
Yeah.
so to say, you're still, the thought, it is an individuality, but it's not like you're building finances
Correct.
out of it, or that thought didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I also come from part of the country where talking about money is like really considered a bad thing.
Correct. Obnoxious. Yeah.
It's like that
Disrespectful.
disrespectful, rude, you know. And then I marry someone from the north where talking about money is very, very normal
Correct.
and natural. And I think even though these are two extremes, I think a balance is very important. It's important to talk about money.
But for you as a career woman, you would definitely be far more smarter. And I use this word,
Mm,
to explain that you would be more careful about your money and investments and all of that. Is that a safe assumption?
it is, thankfully. But I've had to self-learn
Correct.
and self-teach,
Right.
over time, meeting people, experiences. After I met Dilshan.
And that again is a big gap, isn't it? That women are never encouraged to
Yeah.
manage their money.
Yes, absolutely. It's like, okay, she's earning, but at the end, she'll get married and someone will
Look after.
look after her, which I think is it's a very naive way of thinking. And I also feel it's, again, that I feel is unfair as well. Why are we putting it all on the man
Correct.
to look after? Why can't we be partners and bring in, do our finances together? Right. There has to be, this is also support, right?
Right. So do you contribute to your husband's mother's upkeep as well?
So Dilsher and I just share our finances. So, whichever way he helps out with mom. If I need to help out, I help out.
Okay.
With
So that's just never been a
That's never been.
been an issue between the two of you.
Absolutely.
What about you as your sister? I mean, have you all discussed what happens to mom's wealth and jewelry and after she's not there?
Right. So we don't discuss that a lot, but sister and I are very, very close. We're very thick. So it's like whatever there is, whatever little there is, or more there is, it is all it's
Going to be
just
shared.
the two of us. Yeah. It's just the two of us.
It's not that mom's been with me, I'm looking after her, so I get a giant share compared to you.
No,
No.
no, we keep that organic because, a lot of times, they'll be like, she will say, Acha, this is, I think, becoming a lot on you. Let me pay for this. She'll always do that. So that way, I think we're,
You're sorted,
yes, we
both
are.
of you. So you have sisterhood without scorekeeping.
So thankfully, yes. Younger sister and I have been peas in a pod, and we literally.
And you said your mother played a big role.
She did. She did, because when I think I was when apparently the day she got Ruman home after she delivered, I was waiting for her and on our, like, near the garden, and I saw them come in and started crying really loudly that she's carrying someone else now, right? And that, I think, made her realize that, okay, if I don't work on this now, it might, it might just become a little bit of an issue, right? So every day what she'd do is so she's in a little in the crib, right?
Yeah.
And if she's busy, she would put me in the crib with her, that you be with her. Now she's yours.
Wow. She was never worried that you would throttle her or
She's
just on her.
Yeah, can you imagine? So she was, and that I think created this amazing bond, It was literally
What is the
like
difference between the two of you?
we were about 2 years apart.
2 years,
Yeah.
but still you look on her as your baby sister.
I do immensely, and now over the years, I think she's also a mother to her, and he's another pea in our pond. Our 11-year-old, my nephew, he's just turned 11 and suddenly grown up. And I'm like, please don't grow up so fast. It makes you nervous, right? Like he's making sentences now. So sometimes I think she's grown way beyond her years, my sister. Yeah, she's like, I used to, all the time, you're like, oh, this is my little baby sister. I need to protect her. And then suddenly she'll say something. We're like, wow.
Yeah, one day you
You're grown
realize
up.
that
Yeah.
she's all grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you have a very bubbly, happy personality despite, all the trials that you had.
Thank you.
How do you keep joy in the room? How do you keep joy at home? What is it that you do with your mother to keep the laughs going?
Right. I think we all sing.
Oh, okay.
Music is a great bonding activity for us. We like listening to sometimes similar kind of songs, not all the time. And then there are these common songs that we like singing, during a festival, during Bihu, Assamese songs, you know.
Would you like to share Assamese song with us? A few lines.
Few lines with you, no, I think I would let mom sing it.
But I will come and get mom to sing for us, okay?
Sing with me. Yeah, and three of us like that. Music is a great bonding thing. So is, I think, meditation, which we do separately, but I think it brings a lot of joy and a lot of
Peace.
lot of peace,
Centering.
moving with awareness, be aware of things, but not let it bother you, all of this. And it's, of course, happened in I'm not saying it's been many, many years since we've been doing that, but in the last few years, and it has been of immense, help.
Value.
Yes, immense value.
So, as we wind up, is there a piece of advice you'd like to give other 30 to 40-year-olds who are now in, let's say, similar positions to
Right.
us, looking after aging parents,
Right.
coping with the complex nature of this relationship, feeling unsure of what they're doing, sometimes feeling reluctant carers?
Yeah.
What would you like to say to them?
I think it's extremely important, first and foremost, to accept the situation. That this is it. This is the situation. Move with awareness, and it's okay to do boundaries. It is okay to do boundaries. It is challenging, accept that it can be challenging at times. But when you accept that and when you say, okay, even boundaries are all right, then you can move with love, move with objectivity. You don't, in that sense, you don't come from a place of guilt. It's duty, it's challenging, it's love, it's all of this. And they don't stop being your mom and dad. There's enough love, but it's okay to look after yourself. And it's okay to do boundaries as well at the same time.
So when we were talking to Dipanita, we said, how can we not talk to Arunima? Now, Arunima is not here in the studios with us, but we asked her a couple of questions. You don't know what we've asked her. Yeah.
No
So we're
idea.
going to share with you answers that Arunima gave us, and we'd love to have your reactions to that.
I would love that.
I do not feel a disconnect from her at all because I communicate with my mother a lot and I also speak to my sister very often. We are all very connected, and I also speak to a helper at times when I need to. So I'm pretty well informed about her health and what she's going through. This question, the second question of yours, cannot be answered very simply because none of it was decided by any one of us. Things just happened that way. It was August 2024 when my mother in law had a bad fall. She fractured her hip. We had to rush her from Panipat to Gurgaon in an ambulance. And after her surgery, she was advised 3 months of complete bed rest. So, me and my husband, we set up a hospital bed and an attendant at home. And from there, her journey began. All this while, my mother was in Guwahati and she was doing pretty well by herself. She had a 24-hour help, but she was okay. Now, the 24-hour help had to go home for a month. So, we decided that she needs to be with one of us, and my sister said, I'm going there for a shoot, I will get her back with me. So it was October. After her shoot and my mother's book launch, she got mum with her to her Gurgaon house where she lives with her husband. Once my mother was in Gurgaon, because of Gurgaon air quality, she developed a bad cough. And due to excessive coughing, she ended up having a back pain. My sister was going to Mumbai in a few days, and we thought it was best for mom to go there because Mumbai Air agrees with her. So they left for Mumbai, and over there, after further investigations, we got to know that she had a hairline fracture on her spine. So my mother was advised rest, and her treatment began there. So on one hand was my mother, and on the other hand was my mother-in-law. Things happened around the same time. We did not decide who will share what responsibilities or things like that. It just happened that way. So thoughts like unequal sharing, guilt, and whether I'm okay or not okay actually didn't cross my mind or anybody's mind. All of us, me, my sister, our parents, my husband, my brother in law, we all have been given tasks. I don't know by who, by the universe, I really don't know. We are just doing what we have been given. And anything else, all these other thoughts of guilt and all, really didn't even occur to any one of us. Let me begin by talking about emotional dependency. When two people live together, not just two people, when people live together in a house, whether a husband and wife, siblings, parent and child, in laws, and daughter in law or son in law, emotional dependency happens naturally and it should. So, obviously, my mother is emotionally dependent on my sister, and that's a natural thing to happen. How it has impacted her personal life, I know that very well because we discuss that very often. We talk with each other a lot, but it is not my story to tell, so I'm not going to talk about it. It's her story. What I can tell you is that I'm very proud of her. And how has it affected her career? It hasn't. My sister is a thorough professional. She doesn't let anything affect her work. And my biggest worry for her, I will not worry for her. I am there for her when she needs me. I will be there for her when she needs me, as she has been there for me always, and she will be there for me always.
I'm so grateful for her.
sometimes she does feel, because nobody wants this situation. Nobody chooses to be in this situation. So many parents feel like that. She was taking care of herself. My mother was exercising, doing yoga, taking care of herself, but yet this happened, and it is difficult, but what can you do, right? My mother's dynamic with me after she has become more dependent on my sister has not changed, and it will not change. After our father passed away, it's just the three of us, me, my sister, and my mother. Nothing is going to change. If anything, we are closer than before. And do I feel she talks differently or confides in me about different things? See, she talks to both her daughters. Now, me and my sister, we both have different personalities. So her conversations with my sister will be different from the conversations that she has with me. What they talk with each other, they would be the best people to ask. And what me and my mother talk is everything under the sun. So, yeah, I mean, how much she confides in whom, I don't know, but she talks to both of us. She has a lot of patience. I mean, she has developed a lot of patience, and she has dealt with problems and difficulties with a calm and level head. Yeah. And has it changed your perception of her at all? Yes, I love her even more.
So cute. I love